Hey everybody, I wanted to take a few minutes and address some of the concerns that you guys have had over the last few weeks that we haven't been able to speak on until now. I've been in contact with the CTSA and we're actually meeting face-to-face on Sunday, so they'll probably be able to provide some more context and color after that meeting or following that meeting, but I thought it was important to address you guys directly first, the fans and supporters of Crawley Town Football Club. I know I won't be able to answer all of your questions, but I hope to at least hit on a few of the big points and help provide some clarity. The first one I know that many of you guys were upset about was that I sat in the dugout with the squad, with the staff in the Stevenage game. And I wanted you guys to know that I definitely have heard you and understand where you're coming from and can sympathize with how you feel. I understand that a chairman sitting in the dugout isn't really a thing that's done and it isn't considered appropriate or normal in football. But these last few weeks have honestly been pretty abnormal times. So I just wanted to share a little bit about why I did it, because that doesn't seem to have been accurately reported in the press, and it certainly wasn't a choice that I or our group took lightly. I said in my statement before the game that I wanted to show support for our players as well as Darren and his staff, and that really was my only motivation for being in the dugout. I mean, for me, I was trying to think about the situation that these players were in. They just had their head manager and assistant manager quit on them less than 24 hours before we played 2 games in 4 days. I can only imagine what it felt like for them and how it could shake their confidence and their morale. And so I decided it was just really important to me that those guys knew that we have their backs, that we are behind them and that we support them. And it was important for me to just not say that from thousands of miles away in the United States, but to actually show that in person. So yeah, I mean, that's why when we got the news, I mean, Matt's decision to leave the club, it came, it blindsided us. I immediately dropped everything and flew over here to Crawley so I could be there for the match, so I could show my support for the players in person, and then also for Darren, who was being asked to coach his first League 2 game with pretty much zero notice. They were put in a really tough position, and I wanted to be there with them as they fought through it. And frankly, I thought they did a fantastic and amazing job, not only against Stevenage, but as well against Newport. We've been proud of how the players have fought over these last 2 games and how Darren and the staff have prepared them to compete. And honestly, they've represented the club in a really good fashion. They fully deserve to get all 3 points for their performance against Newport. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, but we were never more encouraged by a game that we've seen this year. So that's the explanation as to why I thought it was important to do that. I know it's probably not going to change the minds of most of the fans who think it was a mistake, and I totally hear you on that. For me and for our group, I thought it was important that we just show the players that we were behind them 100%. I also wanted to thank the fans for going to Stevenage and Newport to support the team and to support the squad, because I know the players felt that too. I felt your presence as well, especially at Stevenage, with some of the chants weren't the nicest things said, but they're also fair play. So I credit you guys for just going there and always looking out for what's most important to you, and that's the club. Next up is Tom Nichols. I know, and I apologize that we had to be silent for a few weeks on some of the reasonings behind the sale of Tom Nichols, which ended up going to Gillingham. And I wanted to give you guys more clarity as far as our reasonings behind it as a football club. So first off, I want you guys to know we love Tom Nichols. He's a good player. He's given a lot of good years to our club, and we're always going to be thankful for his contributions on and off the pitch. I know there were some crazy rumors going around how we allegedly made this move because of some off-the-pitch reason, and I just want to clarify and say again that that's totally false. We have nothing but the fondest feelings for Tom as a person, and we wish him all the best. This was ultimately just a football move that we felt we needed to make to benefit the club. And on those football sides of things, I don't think it should be a surprise to anyone who's watched us this year that we really lack in size in our attack, and that's made it very difficult for us to get the ball to our forwards in dangerous positions where we can make threats to score. One of the biggest challenges in that respect is that 2 of our better forwards, not only Tom, but Dom Telford, are both smaller. And that made it really hard for us to play them together at the same time and still be effective in the attacking third. There was some redundancy ultimately, to be honest. And so it didn't really make sense for us to keep both on the squad long term when we couldn't play them together. Particularly considering Tom's contract is up at the end of the summer and he wasn't going to be a part of our future plans. We had a decision to make, not just for the rest of the season, but also going forward. So to offer some context, on one hand, Tom is turning 30 in the summer and getting into that phase where a lot of players' performances typically begin to decline. And he wasn't going to be cheap for us to retain this summer anyway. And we had an offer on the table that paid us a significant amount to let him go in January, that we can then reinvest into the club to strengthen other positions of need down the road. On the other hand, we have Dom Telford, who is 4 years younger, one of the elite strikers in League Two. And if we can get him the ball in a dangerous position, which has been a primary focus of ours for the last few weeks, by the way, and I think we've already begun to notice some of those positive results from that and the opportunities that we're creating and how efficient they are, that was important and a priority for us. And so we weighed all that information and came to what we felt like was the best decision for the club and also for Tom. I know a lot of people expressed concerns that we sold him to Gillingham, who is a rival in the relegation fight at the moment, of course. And we weighed that as heavily as part of our decision-making process as possible. And at the end of the day, we still thought this was the right move for everybody involved. And again, we wish Tom nothing but the best. I'm sure some of you are still going to disagree, with the decision. But I wanted to at least say what our thinking was out loud and explain it, because it certainly wasn't a decision that we took lightly. And lastly, I wanted to address Matthew Etherington and offer some clarity up on how that separation took place. I don't want to dwell on it too much, because ultimately we are really excited about 2023 and turning the page into what the future holds for this club. But there's been a lot of misinformation going around, and I just wanted to make sure that you guys hear it from me first and indirectly. Matthew Etherington initiated his own exit. We did not sack him, as has been assumed by a lot of the national media. That's just not accurate. Like I said, he chose to leave his post after being here for just over a month, and he chose to do it a day before we played 2 games in 4 days, which obviously came as a shock and caused some real hardship for both our players and our club in the short term. In terms of why Matt made the decision he did, I obviously can't speak for him, but what I do want to do is correct the misconception that seems to be out there that we were somehow micromanaging him or not allowing him to do his job. It's just simply not true. He was the manager. He picked the team, he set the strategy, and he made the tactical decisions. The only restriction that he was ever given was the situation with Tom Nichols, which I've addressed a bit already. And that was a bit of a special situation, because we had considered that we might be moving him on in January, and we didn't want to jeopardize that by having Tom get hurt, playing in poor weather or on bad pitch conditions, which, for example, against Hartlepool, we saw what happened with both Ashley and Joel during that game. So we did ask Maddie not to play Tom during those games, for a few games, for those reasons, which I think should hopefully be understandable, even if you don't agree with our decision to sell Tom. Apart from that, though, Matt was fully empowered to manage the team and do his job right up until the moment he decided he didn't want to do that anymore, which is, of course, his right and his decision. I want you guys to know that we're working to find the best candidate for this job and for this role as soon as possible, and we should hopefully have some news on that coming in the days ahead. I just want to thank you guys for your patience and for bearing with us these last few weeks. I know it wasn't easy. I know how frustrated you guys are with the state of the club, and I share in that frustration, and I take full responsibility for it. I really want you guys to know I care deeply about Crawley Town Football Club. Not just the club, but the people and everything you guys have given me too and shared back with me. And I know we've lost your trust a little bit, and that pains me, and I know people don't really believe me right now. But the only way we're going to gain your trust back is by turning the page, making decisions that for the betterment of the club, both on and off the pitch, and giving you guys something that you can be proud of, both on the football side and in the community. And so that's what we're going to do. I have my head down. I'm going to be working every day to make sure we stabilize things, and I appreciate you guys. Thank you.